Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. Lucky Strike's blowing smoke rings at you from the studios of Comfortably Zoned Radio. And it's time once again for Dodgers baseball, a tale of two cities from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. I'm your host, Peter Trunk, and my co-host, as always, is Ron Rabinovitz. Ron, how are you?
Good, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
How do you like our Dodgers? They're doing great, aren't they?
I think, you know what? I have to, every now and then I have to pinch myself because I cannot believe that they're sustaining this incredible record as we go through the dog days of August. It's just absolutely impossible for me to believe. If someone told me, you know, if they win Tuesday, Ronnie, they'll be 50 games above 500.
Can you believe it? Unbelievable.
That's like an NBA. That's like an NBA winning percentage of a first place.
It's like unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We have a great show lined up tonight.
We sure do.
We have two of our favorite guests in the wings here live. Bill Hall and Jim Denny. They don't really need to be introduced fully again, but I'll do my best. Jim Denny lives out in Indiana by Carl Erskine, who is our beloved Oysk, who pitched for the Dodgers from 48 to 58, or 48 to 59 maybe. And we have Bill Hall, who is a Brooklyn Dodger historian, among many other things, out where he lives in Oregon. He does a host of things out there, and he's an author. And he's in the middle right now, although he is published, he's in the middle of writing another book, which is going to be quite a book. It's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, the working title is Ebbets Field Forever, and it's going to be a novel. It's going to be a novel about if the Dodgers had never moved. What a book that's going to be. Anyway, welcome Bill Hall and welcome Jim Denny.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Bill. Hi, Jim.
Welcome. Nice talking to you guys again tonight. Nice talking to you.
It's great to talk to you again. The last time we spoke a couple of shows ago, we talked about Carl Erskine and, well, a whole bunch of things, but we talked about Carl Erskine. And I wanted to know if Jim especially knows of the etymology or the genesis or provenance of the harmonica in Carl Erskine's life. Can you explain to us how that came about?
Well, I believe I read in his book that he was playing back in his Dodger days. I'm not sure how much. When he retired in 1959 and moved back to Anderson after he had Jimmy. That was in like 1960, 61, I believe. Jimmy was born in 1960. Came back to Indiana. He became the coach of our local college, Anderson College back then. Now it's called Anderson University. He played in a band with he calls them his friends, and it consists of his buddy that owns a music store in Anderson, just minutes from Carl's house. A retired sheriff, a commissioner like Bill Hall, he's a commissioner, and a teacher also, and another musician is a drummer. They have a band called Little Bit of Country, and it's 27 years running.
Wow.
They've been doing this band, so I'm not sure how the harmonica started. I know I've learned since I met Carl that he used to be in woodworking, and he was doing woodworking back in his playing days. And when he had his farm, he had a shop, and so he has got many talents outside baseball. voice does. I mean, it's, I've learned of these two talents, after I met him, of course. I didn't know he played harmonica when I first met Carl. Never seen him in a band, but like I said, I don't know when he started it, but he's good at it. And anytime you get in the car, he's got a harmonica in his door, or you may ask him. Oh, it's in his door, or you may ask him to play right now. He may have it in his pocket, and it's a nice one. It's not one of those cheap harmonicas. It is a nice one. I've actually got a Carl Erskine autographed, engraved harmonica.
Wow, really? That's great.
There's 300 in existence, and I'm actually going to try to work on getting you guys one. I think there's some extra ones out there, so I'll see if I can get you guys one.
Boy, I'd love it.
That would be a thrill.
Pick up a new profession.
They're little ones. They're the little ones, but Carl can pick it up, and I tell you, just beside, I love watching him play, but the best part about watching Carl do the harmonica is when he gets it ready, he cleans it, and I mean, he has just got a routine. He's fun to watch. He really is. He really is.
I'll bet he is.
I'm sure he was fun to watch play baseball, and I think it's fun to watch him play harmonica. He's a treat. He is.
Does he play the other instruments, Jimmy?
It certainly was a treat to see him pitch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ronnie, I didn't hear you, buddy.
Does he play the other instruments or just the harmonica?
Well, I've never seen him play anything else, but I will tell you this. Luke Bryan, the country singer, he used to date Carl's granddaughter when Luke was about 18 or 19 years old, so a few years back. And he was actually in Anderson, Indiana, back when he was about 19, 20, 21, and him and Carl played the banjo together. So that's the only time I've ever heard a story of him playing another instrument.
The banjo,
I love Luke Bryan. He's got ties to Luke Bryan, too.
Wow, that's great. That's great.
That's something else.
That is fabulous.
I love it. Bill, when you went out to Anderson to visit, could I get personal and ask you a few questions? Like, for instance, did you go out there with for the explicit reason of interviewing Carl about your book?
Yes, and to meet him, Jim and I connected through Facebook. I guess it was last year, maybe the year before. And one of the things he had said to me very kindly was, if you're ever in this part of the country, come on over to Anderson and I'll hook you up with Carl. And, well, he didn't have to ask twice. I was attending a conference in Columbus, Ohio, and I figured, that's close enough to Indiana. And so I made arrangements to take a couple of days of vacation and made a detour to Indianapolis before I headed home to Oregon. And what a thrill it was! What a thrill! Jim and I, he introduced me both to Carl and to Jimmy, and then Carl and Jim and I sat down together for about 90 minutes. And then after that, we followed him to a local senior citizens nursing home where we got to watch Carl and his band play the harmonica for, I think about an hour, wasn't it, Jim?
Yes, sure was.
Yeah, and
went live.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to the wonders of cell phones and Facebook, Jim was able to beam it out to the followers of the Facebook group Brooklyn Dodgers, the Boys of Summer. And if you're a member of that group and you happen to miss the live broadcast, you just can go to that page, and you'll have to scroll down a ways now, but you can watch the video of that performance. And one of the fun things was we had several dozen members of the group watching live, including Carl's daughter. He has 3 sons, 1 daughter, Susie Erskine Short. And Jim, is she in Georgia, I think? Do I remember that correctly? Yeah, and so she was able to watch live, and like one of the things Carl did when he found out she was watching, they had some happy memories together at Disneyland, and she loved the song "It's a Small World After All," and so that was one of the songs that Carl played. And I get a sense he's just a very kind and modest person in general, and that certainly includes his harmonica talent, but really, he is very good. And if anybody has, just needs to watch that video to get the sense of it. And the fact that he has played the national anthem, played other songs in so many settings. I know for the Indianapolis Pacers, he's done it. For the Indianapolis Indians baseball team, he played the national anthem at the very first Brooklyn Cyclones game back in, I think it was that 2001 when pro baseball finally returned to Brooklyn. Sadder occasion was when he played the national anthem before the very last Los Angeles Dodgers game ever played at historic Dodger Town. So, he's gotten out there, and I just, you can just see the delight. I mean, there wasn't a big crowd, Jim. I don't know, I'd say maybe 15, 20 residents, but these were folks. He comes to that home. He was telling us, he and his band do perform the fourth Tuesday of every month. That's a standing date.
Correct.
And, and these folks, deeply appreciate him. And you can tell they look forward to him brightening their lives with a little bit of music.
That's wonderful.
Does he still follow the Dodgers, Jimmy?
Oh, he sure does. I'll tell you a little story that just happened the other day. You remember when the rookie came up, is it Kyle Barber? All right.
Oh, Bellinger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The rookie came in and had the walk-off double with the 2 runs the other night.
Yeah.
Oh, Farmer. Kyle Farmer.
I'm sorry. Farmer.
Right.
Well, I was at the fire station that night, and I couldn't get it on the TV, but I was watching it on my MLB.com or my app. And it was the 11th inning, and the Dodgers were down 1. And I watched this Kyle Farmer. I watched him do a walk-off on the phone. I went to bed. So the next day, I talked to Carl. And before we hung up, he said, "Hey, Jimmy, I got a question for you. Last night, I was watching the Dodger game. It was the 11th inning, and we were down by 1, and I fell asleep."
Oh.
And this was in the evening. This was like 5:30, 6:30 at night. So he still hadn't even heard who won the game yet all day. So then he asked me, and I got to tell him what happened, and he was amazed. And then I also got to tell him that they just signed Yu Darvish that same day when I told him that story. They signed Yu Darvish that next day.
Wow.
So he was excited. It was pretty cool that he got to ask me about that.
Yeah, isn't that great? That's great.
That's great
So
to know.
He follows.
Sure does. And
wonderful.
The Dodgers keep in contact with him all the time. I mean,
I hope so.
He knows current events all the time. He sure does.
They're very good at helping with the old timers and stuff. They keep in touch with all of them. They're very good at the Dodgers.
Yeah. And the wives. They keep in touch with the wives too.
And the wives. It's a family.
By the way, Ron.
Yeah.
By the way, before we came on the air, I just heard some depressing news regarding the Dodgers. They sent Kyle Farmer down.
Yes.
And they activated Chris Hatcher.
Yeah,
I saw that.
I can't believe it.
One of your favorite pitchers.
I can't stand him. I
All he
can't
does is
stand
give
him.
up home runs.
Every time he gets in there, I cringe.
He gives up home runs every time he comes in.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No.
I don't know why I'm laughing. Anyway, Bill, when you broached the subject, Bill Hall, to Carl Erskine about the premise of your book, was he all for it, against it, thought it was silly, thought it was good, thought it could work? What was his reaction?
Well, I think he found it intriguing, and he was willing to, kind of let me test out a lot of my theories on him. And for instance, my idea of a certain Dodger becoming a player manager of the team in the 1950s. He saw that as plausible. And, what I was able to use, and I've shared, I think, with some of you guys, like an interview with him talking about, this is something that Jim said he'd never heard anybody ask him about before. For instance, the Erskine family's living arrangements in Brooklyn, and talking about not only how they found the place that they rented in the summers, but who carpooled together from Bay Ridge, what his game preparation and warm-up routine was like. That I have a chapter where Carl pitches in the Roy Campanella benefit game instead of Sandy Koufax, who was the actual pitcher, and a lot of the details that he gave me really, I think, helped add some richness and I hope some realism to that portrait. Although, he does have what I love, this kind of the Midwestern sense of humor, which I think, his fellow Hoosier Gil Hodges shared, a little dry, a little droll maybe, and he introduced me to, I think one of his band members said, he's a writer working on a novel where instead of a pitcher, I'm a home run hitter. And I said, yeah, sort of like Roy, the natural, Roy Hobbs. He went from pitcher to home run hitter.
That's right.
And hey, Carl hit a home run in the majors, which is more than any of us can say.
That's right. That's right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So he didn't treat you, or the idea, I should say. Now, of course, he would never treat you negatively. He didn't cast aspersions upon that it was a silly idea or that.
No.
No. Good. That's
no.
good.
I think I get the sense what he said to us and what I've read, in his books and others that he felt like Walter O'Malley was a businessman who made the best business decision for the Dodger team, but I think he also really, as Jim said, respects, appreciates the ongoing affection for the Brooklyn Dodgers. So,
I really believe that, same church, different pew. When you go on Facebook, and you see the revisionist historians and the trolls that come on to all the Brooklyn sites, and they try to blame the move on Robert Moses and stuff, and we have to, among others, but basically we and Robert Cole and stuff, we have to try to set the record straight and keep the record straight about that. I don't begrudge, as some old Brooklyn fans do, I don't begrudge people like Erskine or Koufax or Vin Scully not condemning Walter O'Malley. This was their ticket. I mean, Walter O'Malley signed their checks. He was he was their boss. He was their, moving the Dodgers really had nothing to do with Sandy Koufax, Carl Erskine, Johnny Podgers, Duke Snyder, Carl Furillo, et cetera.
No, they were employees.
They were employees, exactly. So these old Brooklyn Dodger fans that say, well, Drysdale, he came back to Brooklyn once and I saw him walking down the street and I yelled at him, you're a bum or something like that. You can't
blame the players.
Of course not.
Players,
of course not.
No.
That's what, and then people say to me, some people say to me, either on Facebook or at barbecues and parties and get-togethers, they say, how can you possibly still like and root for and admire the Dodgers that they left you? Well, the Dodgers never left me. They didn't leave me. The Dodgers, I try to explain this to folks, and I admire their staunch position.
Loyalty.
I really do.
Brooklyn. Yeah.
I really do. But I can't see, for the life of me, I can't see how that helps them in their daily lives. In other words, when I see, someone said to me a long time ago, and I'm sure you've heard it, because all you guys read a lot. You're avid readers as I am. But someone a long time ago, and I don't even know if it was about baseball, It might have been about another sport, but someone said you root for the laundry. And there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah.
When I turn on the TV and the Dodgers are playing at Dodger Stadium, and sometimes I don't even, now that Vin Scully isn't there anymore, sometimes I watch an inning or two or three without even putting the sound on. I keep it mute, and I might be reading something or looking at my phone or whatever, but I'm looking up and I'm keeping abreast of what's going on, and just seeing the Snow White blousy jersey with the blue script of Dodgers and the red number underneath. It causes erector pilli. The little hairs on the back of my neck and on my forearms actually stand up.
That's right.
Seeing that.
It's beautiful.
I can't.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
And
you know.
Can
I've heard
a couple of things
brilliant people.
That?
I've heard brilliant people castigate people like Kershaw because he's an L.A. Dodger, not a Brooklyn Dodger. He'll never be a Koufax. He could do anything he wants. And Koufax was the guy. He's from
It's
Brooklyn.
not his fault. What is he?
That's what I'm trying to say.
He was
that's what I'm trying to say.
He was born after they moved.
I actually feel bad. Pity is too strong of a word, but I feel bad for them that they're not allowing themselves to enjoy that Dodger dynasty, if you will, or history, and it just keeps marching along and doing all this stuff, and very successful franchise, and I don't get it. I really don't get it. How you hold a grudge? Okay, so O'Malley was a son of a gun, and he was a bastard, But you know what?
Right.
How can you hold that against Kershaw?
The players.
How can you hold that against? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. To me, it doesn't make any sense.
To me either.
You know what? Yeah. You know what, though, Ronnie, and Bill and Jimmy too. I'm not other people. I'm just me. So I have my own views. I have my own way of living and my own thoughts about things, and both politically and religiously or whatever it may be. And my feeling is that when the Dodgers are doing well, it puts a smile on my face because they become the game of the week. They become the special game on ESPN or MLB TV or TNT or TBS. They're all over the networks and stuff, and people are talking about them. When they go into towns that don't draw, they draw. In other words, like
anybody.
You'll see them playing in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia gets 11 or 12 or 13,000 a game. The Dodgers come in, all of a sudden there's 39,606 tonight in the park.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? They're there to see the Dodgers. They're there to see the Dodgers, and they call the ball field in Arizona Dodger Stadium 2.0. If you watch the Dodgers when they play the Diamondbacks, it's like 60% Dodger fans. Yeah. They're all over the joint, chanting and wearing their blue and everything. Yeah. And when I was in Dodger Stadium twice, I went 2 different years. 14 and 15 I went, 2014, 2015. The stadium on the outside and the inside is inundated with Brooklyn history.
Absolutely.
Again,
Absolutely.
the old time Dodger fans say, "Oh, they don't pay any homage to they haven't retired Gil's number. It's a disgrace. They don't acknowledge their Brooklyn roots." Oh, yes, they do. They do acknowledge their Brooklyn roots. It's all over the damn ballpark.
All over the
everywhere you look. Everywhere you look. And when you watch a Dodger game, on TV, and the camera spans through the audience, and you see all these Brooklyn hats, and the guys who are wearing them, Ronnie, are like 25 years old.
Right, exactly.
How do they even know? You know what I mean? Yeah, so something is happening out there. They're not forgetting Brooklyn.
No, they're not. They're
not forgetting Brooklyn.
Listen,
one last rant, and I'll take a shower. One last rant. The old-time Brooklyn fans They want to rail against the Dodger fans of L.A. Well, let me tell you something. It's an altogether different breed of cat.
Sure it is.
You don't have any Brooklynites walking around and driving around in L.A. Different breed of people, different folks.
Exactly.
They're laid back.
Right.
They're not as crazy and wild as we were back in Brooklyn. I count myself as one of those, crazy and wild.
Right.
But, so what? That's the way they react. That's the way they root. The Dodgers draw more people. The Dodgers have drawn, and anybody can look this up. Not only you fellows, but anybody listening to this broadcast. You can look this up. The Dodgers have drawn more fans, both home and away, than any other sports franchise in history.
And it's not even close.
It's not even
close.
just baseball.
No.
Not just baseball. It's Real Madrid, Chelsea, you name Barcelona, you name any franchise anywhere. Manchester United. The Dodgers have outdrawn any other franchise in history, and as Casey Stengel said, you can look it up. Okay, I'm done with my rant. I'm gonna sit back and listen to Jim Denny and Bill Hall. And Ronnie, why don't you ask them some questions that you're dying to know about Anderson, Indiana, or other things?
Well, Jimmy, how big is Anderson?
Anderson used to be about 60,000 people when we had General Motors.
60.
We lost General Motors a few years ago. My dad retired from General Motors. Carl's dad retired from General Motors. So him and I have both General Motors roots. Like I said, it's about 60,000. We probably lost a little bit. We're at least 50,000 people.
It's a nice size.
40 minutes north of Indianapolis. Yeah.
40 minutes north of Indianapolis?
Yeah, about 40 minutes. We have about 6 stations that cover all. We have about 100 firemen, 100 policemen.
That's great. That's great.
It's a busy town. It's busy for fire, busy for police. I'll say that. We're busy. But I enjoy it. I love it.
I know you do. You can tell the way you talk. You love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. 21 years and about 14 more to go.
Good for you. Good for you. That's great.
Not bad, huh?
Great. You're not counting the days, are you?
And Carl says he's going to live to be 115, so he'll be there for my retirement.
Good. God bless him.
He says that all the time.
That's great. Bill, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. When Peter talked about the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, it made me think of one of my favorite Dodgers stories. It's not a Carl Erskine story, but it's a Sandy Koufax story. I bet all you guys know it, but in case some of the listeners don't, can I throw it in here?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Al Campanis, the longtime Dodger scout and later general manager, he said this. I think this is just one of the classic baseball lines. He said, 2 times, and 2 times in his life only, the hair on the back of his neck stood up. One was the first time he saw the Sistine Chapel. The other was the first time he saw a Sandy Koufax fastball.
Wow. Isn't that something? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's a great organization. It really is. And, like Peter said, you got that Dodgers across the chest, and that's what counts. Whether it's a B or an LA, it's the Dodgers are the Dodgers.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, Ronnie, I got a question for you. Now, I have not seen this talked about. I've been talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers for strong every day for 4 years, going on 5 years, every day.
Okay.
I've never seen any comments about what if Jackie Robinson would have stayed for 57. Would there have been talk about moving west if Jackie Robinson would have still been on the team?
Yes, I think they would. I think it was already set in stand. And second of all, they traded Jackie Robinson to the Giants. which made me infuriated, which was, I was so mad at the Dodgers then. But of course, like them leaving Brooklyn, I got over it. I still love the Dodgers. So it's just, and he showed them all because he retired as a Dodger, and that's what he wanted to do. You know, he was fading, Jimmy, the last couple of years. His 56th season was his last season, and he was on his downhill slide, and he knew it too. He told me, I mean, we had dinner one night, and he told me, he said, my legs are gone. He says, I'm going to tell you a secret that no one else knows except my own family. I think next year will be my last year in baseball. He said, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have played all the sports he did, because he was a tremendous athlete. I mean, All-American in football, All-American in basketball, broke the world's record in the broad jump and track, and he played baseball. The only athlete ever to letter in 4 sports at UCLA. It's unheard of.
Wow.
And baseball wasn't his best sport. So, yeah. So I was I was sad that they didn't leave him go out in his glory like he should have. I think it was a slap in his face. And there was no love lost between Walter Alston and Walter O'Malley and Jackie Robinson. There wasn't.
Yeah.
Jackie was not happy with them, and they weren't happy with him. So I think if O'Malley could have done it, he would have pulled the trigger a couple of years earlier, but he couldn't because Jackie was so good, you know.
Oh, very true. I mean, like in
no question about it.
In Buzzy Bavasi's book, he said that after the 55 championship, that Walter O'Malley ordered him to get rid of Jackie, and that he begged and pleaded him, and he said, we cannot repeat as pennant winners without him. But the next year, you know, after they lost the World Series in '56, it wasn't a choice. It was a direct order to dump Robbins.
To get rid of him. Yeah. And it was a slap in his face.
Duke Snyder told me a story at a card show about Jackie Robinson, and since then, this is many years ago, and since then, Duke told sports writers, and therefore it made the newspapers, it made books, it made articles that were written after that, but somewhere around 1980, that's just a guess off the top of my head.
Okay.
I was at a card show, and I sat. I actually, instead of just getting my stuff signed, I got my stuff signed, and then I took a chair, and I sat next to him, and we talked as he signed other people's stuff. And one of the things he talked about, I asked him about Jackie Robinson, and he said to me, you know, Peter, he said, now I'm not too clear on what school this was, because I know Jackie went to a junior college also out in California.
In Pasadena. Yeah, Pasadena.
But, okay, so Duke tells the story where he's watching the game, the baseball game, and Jackie's playing in the baseball game, and he's playing shortstop, and he's doing very well. And one inning, he comes in, he's not due up at bat. He runs over to the other field, and in his uniform, in his baseball spikes and in his uniform, he breaks the broad jump record at the time.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Okay.
No.
Then he comes back with his spikes on and his uniform on and goes back to play shortstop.
Go back to shortstop.
So what did you do today? Oh, I went 3 for 4. Oh, by the way, I broke the broad jump record in the 3rd inning. In between. I mean, this is crazy.
Good story.
Crazy.
Good story.
Crazy.
And you know, Branch Rickey said one time, he said, I don't know of any other ball player that would have made a finer manager than you would have in regard to Jackie Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
And I agree. He would have been a fabulous manager.
Yeah.
He had all the workings for that. He would be great with the players. He would have been great with the fans. It was a shame. But, of course, O'Malley couldn't stand him, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, I think if Branch Rickey had not been forced out of Brooklyn, you very well could have seen Jackie managing the Brooklyn Dodgers. Although it's interesting, I recently reread Duke's book, and he didn't explain why, but he said he somehow in his own mind he never saw Jackie as a field manager, but he thought he would have been an outstanding general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
mm-hmm. That too.
Hey, that's fodder for a book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I won't say anything more right now, but oh, yes.
No, I'm just saying off the top of my head. I'm not saying anything. I just thought I'd mention that's fodder for a book, or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, because, of course, Jackie's post-baseball life was wonderful, what he accomplished in business. I mean, not only his executive position with Chock full of nuts, but later helping to start a minority-owned bank in Harlem, and, of course, his leadership in the civil rights movement.
Yep.
Yet I've always thought it was, just a shame that there wasn't a place for him in baseball after his retirement as a player.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. In one of his letters, he alluded to me that the Chock full of nuts was thinking of investing in a baseball club in a new league. There was a new league coming, or they were talking about forming one. And he says, we realized that, it was too far away from the business that we're in. But he says, I certainly got excited about it. He would have loved it. Yeah.
Although, didn't Branch Rickey make him president or vice president or something of on paper, a Continental League, New York National League baseball?
There was some talk about that, yes. And then the Chock full of nuts.
Yeah, I seem to remember reading
the
that.
investors in that. And then they decided that it was too far away from what they were doing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the restaurant business.
I don't know if you're thinking of the same story that I am, but actually, after Branch Rickey's passing, and after, I believe this was also after Jackie had left Chock full of nuts, in 1966 there was a Continental Football League, and one of the franchises in the Continental Football League was the Brooklyn Dodgers, and Jackie was named on paper the general manager of that team.
Thank you, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill Hall. That's exactly what I was alluding to. Yeah. I just had my facts jumbled up. Yeah, that's true.
And Carl loved Jackie, and Jackie loved Carl. They were very close, right?
Very close. Yes.
Yeah, very close. Well, he wrote the book about Jackie.
We sure did.
What I learned from Jackie Robinson.
Well, I have it right
which also
in my office.
Yeah.
My first day walking into Carl Erskine's house, he had that book on next to his favorite chair, sitting right there on the table. Whether he was going through it, reading it, I'm not sure, but it was sitting right there on the table.
Right there.
You know what? I never asked you this. I never asked you this. Jim Denny, I have to ask you this question. It just dawned on me. I never asked you this question. And here it is. How did you first meet Carlos? Did you find out, well, there's an ex-Brooklyn Dodger living 2 miles from my house or something. I'm going to go over and knock on his door. How did you get to meet him? How did you befriend him?
Well, I've always known about him. My mother was in Gary Erskine's homeroom. Her maiden name was Eiler, E-I-L-E-R, and it's Erskine. So they were in the same homeroom 4 years. So I've always known about him. When I was about 13, I was on a baseball traveling team, and he came to our ceremony, our end of the season ceremony. He showed up, and he had signed a book for all of us, like our book that was made for us with all our stats. He signed it for us. And then after that, I really never heard too much about him. I had my own life, but when the movie 42 came out, Ronnie, that was 2013.
Right.
It just dawned on me, let's get this guy up to the fire station and talk about this movie. And so he came up that week, and we had breakfast, and he told, the Shot Heard Around the World story, and just, he said when he watched the movie that he could see his locker right there. It was there. That's how real this movie was.
Yeah.
The only thing, he did say the only thing that was fiction that he saw was at one point Branch Rickey said a cuss word. He said Branch Rickey never said a cuss word.
Never.
Yeah. Judas Priest.
Judas Priest.
Yeah,
that's right.
There's no cuss words from Branch Rickey. So
No.
I really liked that movie. He did.
Yeah, right.
That's
great.
And when I walked him downstairs, and I walked him downstairs, and when I was telling him bye, he was telling me that his driveway is called Duke's Drive, and he explained. And I think we talked about the driveway, and so that's how I got to come over and see that, and then the rest is history, and it's became fan to more friend than fan now. And it's really nice. Really nice.
That's so great, Jeremy. That's so great.
Cool story, Jim.
Yeah,
nice.
That's
I like it. I like it. Listen, the picture I saw of Carl Erskine with his arm around Big Bill Hall, I noticed that Big Bill Hall had an official Brooklyn Dodger hat and a blue T-shirt with a big, beautiful Brooklyn B on it. Where did you gather up that cap and T-shirt so quickly to meet Carl Erskine, Bill?
Well, the secret is I've had them for a while. I ordered a T-shirt last summer off of an internet seller. I can't remember who. And actually, the cap was purchased in the gift shop of Dodger Stadium, Los Angeles. I'm a big guy, which includes a bigger than average head, and I wear a size 8 cap, which means
I wear 7 3/4, right?
Yeah, but for me that means about 90% or 95% of one size fits all caps don't work for me. But sure enough, I look on the bottom, and there they have Brooklyn caps going all the way up to size 8, and even complete with the white button. I mean, you know how fanatical most people are in our Facebook groups, and somebody says, "Hey, look at my new Brooklyn cap."
I lead the league in being a fanatic about that white button. I have painted my buttons white on caps that I liked the piece, but it didn't have the white button. I bought it, and I would paint the button white. I got 32 Brooklyn caps.
We all are.
Wow.
We love it. 32 of them.
Yep.
I got one signed by Carl Erskine and Duke Snyder.
I've got one that's signed by Duke Snyder.
I've got one signed by Duke, too.
Yeah.
So do I.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Now, Bill, why didn't you take your cap off, lay it down on the table, hand Carl a silver magic marker, and have him sign Carl Erskine number 17 on the bill of your cap?
Oh, I should have. Well,
you were
we'll
right
get together
there.
in person again, but I had him sign 2 books for me and a couple of other things, and frankly, I just didn't want to impose too heavily on his kindness.
I understand.
I'll tell you why he didn't do it, because he was amazed that he was standing by Carl. He was really in awe, and I don't think he could have thought about all that and got that hat signed also. So he was in the moment. Bill was having a good time, and I think he probably didn't even think about something like that.
I understand.
To be true,
I was just breaking his chops. I was just breaking his chops, that's all.
But that was,
I'm so jealous that I have to make him feel bad about something about
that's
that.
Okay, but when I went walking towards him, and I'm thinking, this is Carl Erskine, winner of 122 Major League games, pitched 2 no-hitters, 6 World Series, a boy of summer, a teammate of Gil Hodges, Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese, Roy Campanella, and so many more. Yeah, my heart was just kind of bursting with thrills.
I'm sure it had to be.
Mine
would be too. I spoke to Carl one time. Remember, Jimmy, you gave me his number? And I called him, and he was so gracious to talk to me. And we visited a little bit about Jackie, and I told him about my experiences with Jackie, and that I had met him in the locker room in Milwaukee. And of course, he didn't remember that, but I sure did. And it was really exciting. Yeah.
What a great need Carl on this show. We need Carl on this show with this panel right here.
Oh, I would love
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'm all for it. but I'm going to tell you what. The last time Carl was on this show, he was on with me alone, just the two of us. I asked him questions. Oh, it's still on YouTube. You can look it up. I'll try to find the URL and I'll send it to you guys. Okay. I interviewed him. I interviewed Carl for over an hour. The only thing he did not do, and he would have done it if I asked him, was play his harmonica, but I did not ask him that. I tried to plan the show. This is 2 years ago in June. I did the show, I believe, or May. I tried to get my questions in order that he hadn't been asked too many times before. For instance, I asked him about his hitting, his batting prowess. I asked him about getting hit by a pitch as a batter. I asked him things that, people go, well, how was that 14 strikeout game against the Yankees? And then he has the patented answer that comes out for 5 minutes, and then go, how was that first no-hitter? How was that second no-hitter? And I wanted to ask him questions that would keep him a little bit off. He was phenomenal. He told me about the butcher shop. He told me about the butcher shop in Brooklyn that he used to go to. He used to tell me that when he would pitch a good game in a victory at Ebbets Field, when he would arrive home, the whole street would be out with balloons and beer and just, flying kites and dancing around, and it was like a party and everything. He told me stories about the woman who owned the house and how she let them have it, and if they were in the World Series, she would stay away another 2 weeks. And if they weren't in the World Series, she would come back, and they would go back to Indiana or whatever. He told me all kinds of great stuff. What a great, great guy. Great. And I know I mentioned this the last time we were all together a couple of weeks ago. He was the guy, Carl Erskine, was the guy who said, Peter, you're a Brooklyn Dodger historian. And it blew me off the couch. I was like, holy crap. This is Carl Erskine.
How about if we get him on, Jan? How about
it was really good.
Get him on.
It was really good.
Maybe you guys should get some questions ready, some more new questions, and we can try to get this done here. I would say he's got some things going on. I would say maybe in the fall.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a late birthday present for me, Ronnie. And Peter.
Sounds good, man.
Late one.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Birthday.
Sounds good.
Hey, my birthday's end of September, so I can get in on this too.
You can get
there you go.
Yes.
There you go.
That's right.
We're all in on it.
I think that's a goal. I would love it. I think it would be
good
great.
idea.
If you can line it up, Jimmy, I would be fabulous. And we could do it any time that was convenient for him.
Okay. You'll be our producer on that show, Jimmy. You'll produce that show.
Yeah.
If you can get Carl Erskine to come on with us, you just tell us what time we got to call this number, what time he's available, any day. I don't care if it's Sunday morning, whenever. Whenever he's available, you ask him, and we'll come on. We'll badger him with some questions. We'll find out some real good stuff.
Right. I like it. I think it'd be great. All right. You work on that.
Good.
I mean, that would be great.
I promise.
I will.
This has been a fun show. Unbelievable.
It has been a very good show. And before I wrap it up, I want to ask both of our guests, both Jim Denny and Bill Hall, if they have anything, another little anecdote, another little story. I don't want to just wrap it up and step on their feet. If you guys, either of you guys have one little thing you want to add, or, I just thought of something, one of those kind of stories, go right ahead. Bill Hall?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think one thing we touched on last time, but again, I think it would be nice to, celebrate the fact that Carl Erskine, when he was done playing baseball, He returned to his roots. He weaved his way into the fabric of his community so many ways. Had an insurance business, served as a bank executive, college baseball coach, certainly his great fundraising and advocacy work for Special Olympics, donating to all kinds of good causes. I mean, this is what America is all about, I think, in one aspect. And, the hometown boy who goes to the big city, makes good, and then comes back home.
Mm-hmm. That's true enough.
That's great.
True enough.
That's great.
Jim, anything you want to add, Jim Denny?
Well, I've been thinking, I cannot think of a new story that I have not told you guys.
Okay. Well, there's only one thing to do. There's only one thing to do, Jim, and that is get some new stories. Go see Carl, ask him some questions, badger him a little bit more until he's not too sick of you, and then come back and say, hey, guess what?
I have to
the first
tell you
time
guys
he fell asleep in Dodger Town, he had whatever. We'll have a nice
I have
little...
to tell you guys a story.
Go ahead.
Sunday afternoon, I am going to a St. Paul Saints game. If you recall, the Saints used to be a minor league team for the Dodgers.
Yes, they were.
And they are having a Roy Campanella night, honoring Roy.
Oh,
Campanella.
nice!
Isn't that nice?
Cool.
Fantastic.
Are they going to have a bobblehead?
I don't know if they're going to have that, but they are.
Well, if they do, you better get us some. I'll pay the freight. I'll pay the freight if they got one.
I will. I doubt if they will, but And then there's a reception the night before for Bob Kendrick, who is the president of the Negro Baseball League in Kansas City.
Yes, we had him on the show.
We've had him on the show.
What a wonderful, wonderful interview that was.
Yeah.
Holy
I'm looking
cow.
forward to seeing him.
Man.
And then honoring Roy Campanella on Sunday night.
Great.
So that should be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say.
Ronnie, you made me think of a story. I didn't know we were talking about current events. I do have a current story.
Sure.
Tell us.
Tommy Lasorda turns 90 September 22nd.
Ah.
They are playing the Giants that weekend.
In
Friday,
LA?
Saturday, Sunday in LA, and they're going to celebrate his birthday that weekend. Now, we're not sure what day it is yet, but even if Carl does not go, I am going to try to still make it there. My first visit to LA Stadium I'm going to go on the birthday celebration game, and if Carl doesn't make it, I guess I'll honor Carl. I'll be there for Carl, I guess. But I am going to try to make that first game to Dodger Stadium on Tommy Lasorda's birthday celebration.
Oh, perfect. Hey, Jim, can I give you a tip?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have to give you an assignment, like Mission Impossible used to on TV. If you go to that game, I want you to take 553 pictures, and I want you to disseminate them all over the internet, especially to my mailbox. I want pictures, baby. I'll
go live.
That's right.
I'll go live. I've made some friends in this Brooklyn Dodger journey. I've made a lot of friends, a lot of big friends in LA, and all of us know those guys. And I've had 2 or 3 people already tell me they can get me tickets. Now, if Carl doesn't go, I may have him help me get a ticket. You never know, but I really don't ask him for favors. So I've got a couple guys from the
fans
club. Yeah. He probably could.
He'd get you.
He probably could.
That's right.
Yeah. But I hope I can be there. I'm off to the fire station those days, and it'll be fun.
That'd be great.
Bill, what were you going to say, Bill Hall? Bill Hall, you were going to say something.
I was going to give Jim a different assignment. He has to eat a Brooklyn Dodger dog. And what is a Brooklyn Dodger dog? Dodger dogs are world famous, but now they've introduced the Brooklyn Dodger dog, which is an all-beef dog, and they are delish. Yep.
Wait a minute. Hold it. Time out for a second. Time out just for a second, because I've had the Dodger dog, and many, many, many years ago I had the other Dodger dog, the Brooklyn Dodger dog. Do they make the current Brooklyn Dodger dog in dirty water? Do they boil them in water that's really dirty?
No, they don't boil them in water anymore. They did away, I understand, by popular demand, fan revolt, no more boiling of the Dodger dog in water. They are grilled again the way God meant them to be.
Okay, God meant it to be that way, but Ebbets Field didn't mean it to be that way. Ebbets Field used to boil them in water, and the guy would come around, and of course the water wasn't boiling anymore, but the water would be in his silver metal encasement, and you looked in there, baby, and I'll tell you something, the water was brown. It was brown, and he would take one out. He would take one out, put it on the roll, and he would take a stick, not unlike the stick that when you're finished with a good humor, that kind of a stick, or the kind of a stick that the doctor holds your tongue down with when he looks down your throat. One of those sticks, and he would slather that with mustard and put it on your dog, and take that same stick and put it back where it was.
Oh, yeah.
Go to the next guy. So in a double header, that stick could be used 1,000 times maybe by that one tender.
And you're still alive to tell us about it, right?
And they didn't care.
I'm alive to talk about it.
That's right. You're alive to talk about it. Right?
I'm going to tell you something, Ronnie. Those things were not kosher. I'm going to tell you.
I'm sure
right
not.
now.
I'm sure they weren't. I'm sure they
You got time for one more story? You got time for no story?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Vin Scully was retiring last year.
Yeah.
Carl Erskine calls me up needing a picture of him and Vin Scully together. The Dodgers needed it for their Dodger book that goes out all weekend with Vin Scully's photo on it.
Huh.
I think it's called Dodgers Digest. So I didn't have any photos. I put a post out on Boys of Summer, and my good buddy Herb Bernstein lives in New York. You guys probably know who he is. He should be a Dodger historian. Also, he qualifies for a Dodger historian.
Okay.
He had a photo, and the photo was them coming off the plane in L.A. from Brooklyn, which was perfect for the situation that they needed. And the first one coming down was Carl Erskine. Vin Scully was right there with his microphone interviewing him. So I saw Gil Hodges, and I can't remember who else. I've got a copy of that photo. But he's interviewing Carl, so I blew it up to just showing Vin and Carl. And I emailed it to Carl. He got it to L.A. in time for it to be on the big screen all weekend for Vin Week. And then it hit the magazine, and there was 150,000 of those magazines printed with that photo in it that I cropped and got to Carl. And then we had a buddy on our site, and he got the magazine and a letter, which was only one game that weekend, that Vin Scully typed up a letter to the Dodger fans. It was called Vin's Last Words, in a beautiful blue envelope, and every Dodger fan that night got one of those, and Mark got Carl and I one of those, and he sent those to us.
Isn't that nice? That's fabulous. That's a great story.
It made me feel good. It made Herb feel good. It was pretty neat. I actually found two more on eBay, and I sent one to Roger Craig and Ransom Jackson. They both got one of those.
Great! Oh, that's wonderful.
That is great.
Yeah.
That's so great.
And I'm going to visit Ransom Jackson. Me and a friend of mine, we're going to go visit him this fall. He's already agreed to it.
We had him on the show. I
interviewed Ransom Jackson on the show. Yes, we had him on the show. His claim to fame, and it's a good one. It's a great claim to fame. He played in consecutive Cotton Bowls with two different colleges.
That's right.
Wow.
Right.
How do you like that?
I bet he's the only guy ever to do that.
Yep. It'll never be done again if you think about it.
He was really great on the fall. Remember that show? He was terrific.
Yeah, he was good.
He was great.
He was very, very good.
Yeah, right.
I actually went over to Carl's house last year for the playoffs against the Cubs. I can't remember what game it was. This particular game, the Dodgers got beat. But when I went over to watch the game, I had already talked to Carl, and during the game, he spoke with Ransom Jackson on my cell phone while Betty and I watched the game. They talked for 30 minutes on my cell phone.
Really?
Just catching up, talking about all kinds of stuff while Betty and I were watching the game. He missed a lot. When he started talking, they were winning, and when he got back, they were losing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. These are the kind of stories I was going for. These are the kind of little stories I was going for this show. That's wonderful. That's a great story.
When I was nervous, I knew I only had a few seconds to think of something. Now it's all coming to me now.
There you go.
Good deal.
Better late than never.
Well, this has been fabulous, guys. Bill, thank you, and Jimmy, thank you, and Peter, thank you. This has been fabulous. It's been
great. You too, Ronnie. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank all of you. My partner first, Ronnie. You're the best, Ronnie, and of course, Big Bill Hall and Jim Denny. Thank you for being our guests again. You were wonderful, and had a really, really great time. I want you guys to have a good week.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for cooperating on the night, because we changed the night from Tuesday to Monday just this time. And thanks for everybody for making the show. It was great.
You're welcome. Ready to do it again already?
Okay.
Thanks.
Good night, fellas, and thank you again.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. We'll see you.
Good night.
All right.